Good morning, everyone. I'm Monica Roundbottom, and today we're going to talk about Parkinson's disease, which is a condition that affects the brain and the way our body moves. This might sound complicated, but I'll explain it in a way that makes it easy to understand. First of all, what type of disease is Parkinson's disease, or PD for short? It is called a neurodegenerative disease. This means that it affects the brain and causes certain parts of it to slowly break down, or degenerate, over time. Now, which part of the brain is affected? The area that degenerates in PD is called the substantia nigra. This part of the brain helps control our movements and keep them smooth and steady. But in people with PD, the cells in this area start to die. When these cells die, they stop making an important chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which means it helps send messages between parts of the brain to control movements. Normally, dopamine makes sure that our movements are smooth, coordinated, and easy to start. Without enough dopamine, it becomes harder for people to control their movements. You might have heard of something called Lewy bodies in relation to Parkinson's disease. These are clumps of proteins that build up inside the brain cells of people with PD. Scientists believe that these Lewy bodies may be part of the reason the brain cells die, but they are still researching to find out more. What actually causes Parkinson's disease? Well, the exact cause isn't completely known. There isn't one single thing that causes it, but there are some risk factors. The biggest risk factor is age. Most people with PD are over 60 years old. Other things like genetics, inherited from family, environmental factors, like being exposed to certain chemicals, and head injuries might increase the risk too. Now, let's talk about what Parkinson's disease looks like in people who have it. There are four main signs of PD that doctors look for. These are resting tremors, rigidity, bradykinesia, and postural instability. Let's break these down one by one. Number 1. Resting tremors. Tremors are when parts of the body shake without meaning to. In people with Parkinson's, these tremors usually happen when they are at rest, meaning they're not trying to move. For example, their hand might shake when it's just sitting on their lap, but it might stop shaking when they pick something up. Number 2. Rigidity. This is when the muscles become stiff and don't relax like they should. This makes it hard for people to move their arms and legs smoothly. Their body might feel tight or stuck. You might be wondering how rigidity is different from spasticity. While rigidity is a constant stiffness, spasticity is more about muscles suddenly tightening in response to movement, like a spring being pulled tight. Number 3. Bradykinesia. This is a fancy word that means slow movement. People with Parkinson's disease move much more slowly than normal. It takes longer for them to start a movement, like standing up or walking. Everyday tasks, like getting dressed, can take a lot longer for them to do. Finally, postural instability is when people with Parkinson's have trouble balancing. They might feel unsteady or fall more easily because their body can't adjust quickly to changes in their position. In summary, Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative condition that affects movement by damaging the part of the brain responsible for making dopamine. Without enough dopamine, people develop symptoms like tremors, stiffness, slow movement, and trouble with balance. While we don't know exactly what causes it, we do know that age, genetics, and environmental factors can increase the risk. Thank you for listening. I'm Monica Roundbottom, and I hope you learned something new today about Parkinson's disease.